it. And it's myself, Annabelle Roger, presenting again this afternoon. I work at Tinto Primary School and I am a Google certified trainer. And just to remind you, we are recording the session so you can watch it back later. Keep your mic muted unless you need to interrupt me at any point. You can have your camera on or off. Please use the chat for any questions, and I'll try and stop a few times to review it and check if anyone has any questions. So today's aims, I'm going to talk you through what the Google Meet package is, show you how to access it. We'll talk about when it would be useful to you. I'll give you a quick tour and a 101 guide, and then we'll see if there's any other questions at the end. I hope to finish about 2 o'clock or just after. So what is Google Meet? When would I use it? And how can I set one up? Google Meet is a video conferencing app, and it's accessed through your Glow from the waffle. So some of you may have clicked on a link today. Some of you may be using the Google Meet app. Some of you may be using it in a browser, but I'll show you the main ways that you would access it. When would you need to use Meet? So you might be invited to online training like this. You could be taking part in a meeting, or you could arrange a video call just one-to-one. So accessing it, there are 3 main ways. I'm going to talk you through them with the slides, and then I'll show you live how I would do that as well. So first of all, setting up a video conference through Google Calendar. If you're doing it this way, you go into your Glow first, then into your Google Calendar, and I'll show you how to do that. You set the date and you can choose Add Conferencing, and that gives you video options. This will also automatically send the link to you, just like you received today. Just a moment, I'm just going to go and admit someone. I'll just come out of my slides quickly. Let someone back in. There we go. Okay, so we'll go back to my slides. Here we are. So someone might send you an invite to a video conference as well. If that's the case, then all you need to do is sign into your Glow and click on the link in your email to join the call. Google Meet will then open automatically with your Glow login. Just pop this back onto full screen. So the first one there is to set it up through your Google Calendar. The second one is if you sign into Glow and you have an invitation, you'll get a link to join the call. And the third, for online training sessions like today, you get joining instructions, but it works just the same as a video call. You just need to make sure you're signed into Glow and follow the link that you are given. So I'm going to talk you through live setting up a Meet. I'll just go back and check. There's someone else there. There we are. Let them back in. There we go. Right, okay, so how do you set up your own meetings? So if we go to Glow, this is our starting point for everything. So you go to the Launchpad, and what you want to do is open up Google Drive. And when you open Google Drive, you go to the Google Apps, which is in what we call the waffle. You tick on that, and you can see you've got lots of different options, and it will show you all the apps. The 2 that you would be looking at is Calendar and Meet. Now you can go straight into Meet, but actually for setting up appointments in the future, it's easier to use Calendar. So you go to Calendar. I've actually already got it opened up here. Hopefully this will load a little bit quicker. Right, so as you can see, I've got today's meetings are already in my calendar, but I need to set one up for tomorrow, say. So I just need to click on the plus sign to create a new meeting. Now you may have used calendars in Outlook before. It works much the same way. It's just that you can add video conferencing and link it straight to Meet. So I've got a test meeting I'm setting up. Oh, rest. Excuse the typo. Test meeting. I'm going to set it up for tomorrow. So you can select the date in the calendar. Timing. Now, because it's nearly 2 o'clock now, it automatically goes to the next time in the calendar. So it's gone to 2 o'clock. Then I want to add Now, because it's all connected through Glow, if you start someone you already know in the Glow system, it will with them as options. So there we go. Select myself. You can also check calendars, guest availability. So if they have all in their Google Calendar, you can do test availability and it will double check whether there's a slot available in there. You can see the orange is their diary, so you can see they've actually got some time. Yep, that's okay. And it will even do suggested times. It will work out which times are good for the other person. And you can have up to 250 guests within one appointment. So that would cover most possibilities. And you can keep adding people just by typing in their name, or if you know their Glow identity, you can put your GW and it will start searching. So you can pick up people however you want to. Then when you've got them in your list, you've got three options. You can hide a guest if you don't need them there in the list. So for instance, if I need to share it with two of my calendars and I don't want both showing up, I can hide one. You can click on the person and mark it as an optional meeting if it's not compulsory that they come. You just think it might be interesting to them. And you can take them off again with the cross. So you can edit your attendees. Now, because we're setting up a meet, we need to click on Add Conferencing. And this is the part that actually gives you the video link. If you don't do that, then it's just a date in the diary and it's not a Google Meet. And then it automatically sets up a meet room for you with its own code. And you can see there it says you can have up to 250 people on that link. There are options if you click on here. We'll give you another copy of the meeting ID. If you needed to edit that, like you might have a meeting ID that you've used before and you want to use the same link, you can change it back. And you can also give meetings nicknames for extra security. But I'm just going to leave it as is. Now, since it's a virtual meeting, I don't need a room and I don't need a location. I might want to add a description. I might want to tell the attendees to remember to look at the agenda. And at the bottom there, it just tells you which calendar it's going to appear in. And you can choose. Mine is connected to my Google Classrooms. So if it's part of a classroom meeting, I might want to set it up within that calendar as well. Then when I click Save, it creates an appointment. No, just need to take that one out. Still searching for someone that I'm not really needing. There we go. So when I click Save, it's then going to say, do you want me to send invitation emails to my Google Calendar guests? If you do that, it automatically sets it up into their calendars as well. So I would click Send, and then it will automatically go to your attendees. Okay, so that's how we set up a meeting within Calendar. Now, if I want to set up a meeting from Meet, you can also do it that way. So I can, just a moment while it reloads, click on the waffle here. If I was sending emails to someone and we both went, actually, do you know what, it'd be easier to have a conversation. Let's start a meet. I can go straight into Meet here. And that will load up. And it brings up any appointments that I've got in this diary. So it shows me anything that I'm already due to be going to. But it also gives me the option to start a meeting. So let's have a look at how that looks. So when I click on the plus button here, it's going to give me options for starting. Okay, so join or start a meeting. I can enter the meeting code or a nickname. So if I had a meeting code that I was going to, I can type that in here. But if I want to start my own meeting, I could give it a nickname or I can just leave it blank. And click continue, and that will open up a Meet page for me. Now this is a bit like what you saw when you joined in today. When you click on the link, it takes you to this kind of waiting room page where it sets up the Meet, and then it just waits for you to join in. Okay, so you'll see you have a getting ready side, and it comes up with options here. And in the top corner, it's got which account you're signed into the meeting with. And if you have other Google identities, you might have other Glue identities, you might have Gmail accounts, you might be using an Android device to look at Meet, in which case it might sign you in on a different Gmail. So it's worth checking that you're on the correct account. Then it will come up with a page which says camera is starting, and it boots your camera, and it just connects to your microphone as well. So you can see you've got two buttons. You've got the one on the left has got a little microphone, and you've got the one on the right has got your camera. And that's the two options you always have, whether it's a meeting you're starting or a meeting that you are joining. Now mine is on the go slow because I'm already in a meet and it's having to work quite hard. You've also got these three dots here that give you further options. Just see if it will let me open there. Here we go, it's just connecting. Now there's a number of good accessibility features in Google Meet, which you might find useful for yourself or your attendees. So you've got captions. It will turn on live captions for you and your camera settings. If there's a problem with the technical side of your meeting, then you can click on this box here. So for instance, if you can't get the video to connect or you can't get the sound to connect, then it's worth reporting it to Google. If for any occasions that there was an abuse situation, either you witnessed abuse or you were a victim of abuse, you can do it through there and it will alert Google. And also the help button is very helpful. Any questions that you have for Google, any feedback you want to give them, you're able to do that there. Okay, so when I'm ready to start the meeting, you can click join now, or you can present to the meeting. Now I'm going to go back to my live feed for this meeting so it doesn't get too confused, and you can see in here what my options are. So when I come down, it will pop up with a white bar. It's working quite hard. Here we are. So here's the white bar. This gives me my tools for the meeting. Just bring it back up again. Okay, so going from the left over here, it tells you the name of the meeting that you are in. When you click on the arrow, it brings up a few options. Apologies, my connection is going very slow. It's clearly working very hard right now. While I'm having a look, Claire's just put up a question. What is the maximum number of people you can see on a screen at any one time? Well, you end up with very, very small boxes, but you can have a huge amount of people. I have been in meets where there's 70 odd participants and you just get a much smaller picture, but it does try to squeeze them all in. I haven't been in a meeting with 250 people, so I don't know whether it goes down to a tiny icon size. But it's usually enough. And I'll show you the options for the view in a moment. Just a second, I'm going to close this other meet. I think it's causing me issues. Here we are. Right, we'll see if this helps. Okay, so that's better. Right, when you go down onto the white bar, you've got these options here. So if I click on the arrow, pop-up's not wanting to work today. Okay. It brings up the details of my meeting. Now, if I was in a meeting and someone else said, I want to be able to come in and see what's happening, you can copy the joining info really quickly by just clicking on copy joining info there, and then you could send it as an email, you could send it as a message, you can pop it into anything. And then also here you've got attachments. So they might have attached the agenda for the meeting or some documents they want you to look at, and that would pop up in here. Then you've got these buttons. You've got your microphone control. You've got the receiver, which is to hang up. and you've got your camera, which is to toggle your camera on and off. Now turn on captions. I'm going to put it on for a moment just so you can see how this works. This is really helpful, especially if you are using Meet and you have perhaps a slightly dodgy connection and you're finding the audio isn't working particularly well. You might find that captions are very helpful. And you can see that they're quite accurate and that they happen in real time. Personally, I wear hearing aids and I find this a very useful feature. Okay, so I'm going to put that off just now so we can have a look at some of the other features. Okay, turn off captions. The next button is for presenting. I can't bring up the options just now because I am presenting, but it gives you the option of presenting your full screen. So you can have your entire desktop broadcast. You could just have it on a certain window. So I might just want Google Chrome, or you could even have it on just one tab. So if I only wanted you to be able to see my presentation and nothing else that I was doing, I could have it just to that tab in Chrome. And then at the side here, you've got your more options. Now this is very useful here. It comes up with all your options. I've got a recording option, but within Glow that's disabled, so you wouldn't see the recording feature. You do have change layout. And if you click on change layout, you've got some options here. You can have auto, so it will decide which one's most appropriate for you. You can have sidebar, where the main speaker is in the big box and everyone else is down the side. Spotlight, you can pick one person to watch. Or you can do tile view, which is like some other video conferencing apps where you've got a small box for everyone and you can see it like that. Change layout is very handy. Okay, and another option under here, you've got full screen. So if I want to make my Meet a full screen rather than a tab, make it even bigger. You can turn on captions here as well. You can go into your settings here as well. User phone for audio isn't actually set up for the British phone system. That's an American setting, but that feature's there. It doesn't work at the moment in the UK. If I show you the settings, we've also got in here, you get your options for your microphone. So you can test your speakers. You can check your microphone is picking you up correctly. If you have any problems during a meeting, or if you're running a meeting and you just want to make sure everything is set up properly, I would recommend going into your settings and just double checking, especially if it's a device you've not used. You've got your camera options. You might have, like me, I've got an HD camera, so I can have high definition or standard. Although I find that sometimes if you try and stream in high definition, it struggles with the connection. And your receiving resolution as well. You can have one video at a time using standard for everybody, high definition, or just audio. And you might find if you've got a broadband connection that finding it difficult, that might help you to stay in the call. So there's some good options there. Okay, I'm just going to go back to my slides and check if I have run through everything. But if anyone else has any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat and we'll see if we can address those for you. Just wait for this slide to load up. Here we are. So, yeah, we've talked about in-meet controls and settings. And I think the last one, yeah, I've got a Google form for you to complete. So I'm going to pop the link to the feedback form in the chat. If anyone has any more questions, please feel free to drop them in. I hope that was a helpful tour for you. It's quite a simple package, Google Meet, but it works really effectively. Obviously, one thing to say is at the moment, Google Meet is just for use between adults and not for use between children or between children and adults. But this is currently under review and there is an announcement coming out, I think this week or next, through your ICT coordinators, which will update you on that. I think it's possible we might move to some live teaching, but I think there will be quite strict guidelines put in place in terms of safeguarding children and making sure that we have professional protection as well. So I'm just going to drop this into the chat. That's the feedback form for you. If no one has any further questions, then thank you very much for coming along this afternoon. And I hope that was useful. Get in touch if you have any more feedback for me, if there's other training that you would like to attend for Google Packages. And I hope that was helpful. Thanks, everyone.